Hey, Amy,
Yeah, Juan.
give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amy Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
What's up, party people? She is Amy Cuevas, and I am Juan Ramirez, and you are listening or watching Baseball Shangri-La. If you are listening to us on the audio portion of the show, please make sure you are subscribed to the podcast. Write us a review, rate us, spread the word. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button, give us a thumbs up, leave us comments. We love engaging with you guys. And finally, make sure you're following us on social media on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. Amy, ¿cómo estás? Long time no see.
It's been forever. Oh my gosh. We forgot to mention something in our last episode. Not a base running blunder. Just
We ran out of time. So
did you notice that Shohei Ohtani got booed and then came back with that home run in Toronto?
I did notice that. And one of the things, Amy, I will say this. I thought what they were booing was the tired, lame ass joke that everybody was sharing on social media where Otani's on a plane to Toronto. I'm just like, really? Really, guys? That's like, I mean, they ran that joke into the ground, Amy. So that's why I thought the Canadians were upset. I thought the Canadians were like, get over it, eh? We don't care. We don't care about that, eh? Uh, but look, of course, like I know some of my buddies were like pissed off and were like, well, why are they booing him? I mean, it wasn't he wasn't the one reporting this stuff. I was like, they're booing him because they wanted him on the team. They see what he's doing, and anybody would want Shohei on the team. I mean, what you can't take this logically. It's fans. This is what fans do.
Well, and I see, and I'm one of those of like, I'm not really a big fan of booing in the game anyway, because I'm just like, ugh, do we have to? But
They were booing. They were saying boo earns. Boo earns.
oh, is that what they were saying? Okay.
That's a Simpsons
Well,
reference for any of you Simpsons fans out there. If you know what episode that's from, please make sure you leave it in the comments. You'll get a big thumbs up from me.
Well, I'm just, you know what? I'm sure that they were in their feels, and it would suck to think that you were getting that player and then to find out that you didn't. And I am glad he was able to turn it around and hit that home run. But yeah, it would be a bummer. I could see it from their perspective.
And then did you also hear how he was greeted when he got back into the Dodgers dugout after he hit that home run?
Yeah, I heard all the players booed him as well, which I think is amazing. Like, if they can continue to gel like this, I'm really hoping that we can see more of that fun side of them because sometimes we'll see it and then it feels like they're very flat in the dugout. And so I'm hoping that they'll get more and more playful with each other and we get to witness it as the season goes on.
They should just embrace the hate, man. Embrace the haters. I love the hate. They are MLB's most hated. Like,
It's good
just
for my complexion.
exactly. Love the hate. Love the hate. Before we get into the topics for this show, I do want to just point out to our listeners and our viewers that we are not only is Amy, she's a hyphenate, okay? Like Amy co-hosts this show, Amy covers the team, Amy's interviewing players, she's writing up. But like I said, she's a hyphenate. She has many, many talents. And one of the talents that some of you may not be aware of is, can I say now that you are an award-winning photographer, or is that going too far, Amy?
Well, I didn't actually win an award. I just got chosen to be displayed. So there was a first, second, and third. I did not get that, but I did get 6 photos displayed recently in the Signal Hill Centennial Celebration art display.
So you're a winner in all our hearts, Amy. So
Thanks.
so I just wanted to shout out there, guys, that Amy has skills as a photographer, and her work was shown this past weekend, and it was on display for everyone to see. So congratulations, my friend. I know you poo-poo it because you're humble and all that, but that's a big deal. I know you have a passion for photography, right?
I do. I love if you ever go to my Instagram, when I can go through all the photos that we get from games, I'll usually throw some up after a game. I love catching, like I see life in pictures and I hear it in music. I don't play, but I love, those are my two passions outside of baseball. And so if I can take pictures of something and get that posted up, even if it's my fun co-host and we're at a game, he knows he has to sit there like, all right, let's take one picture. Because I love capturing memories and moments, and photography is an extension of that.
Well, congratulations. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
This show is going to be a bunch of updates. So what I want to do is I want to start up. We're going to go over 2 updates to stories that we have been covering on this show. So for you guys, you loyal listeners, you guys who watch us, listen to us, you guys know we've talked about these stories before, and whenever we get updates, we always bring them to you. And then we're going to end the show with a new story that just broke this last week. But the story that just doesn't seem to have an ending. Let's start first. Let's update the ongoing, never-ending saga with the Major League Baseball uniforms. Amy, what do you got?
So the MLB Players Association sent out a memo to the players about the Nike uniforms. The storyline, essentially, like the summary of it all, is basically the Vapor Premier fabric is here to stay. However, they have taken all of the complaints that they've heard from fans and players, and changes will be made before the 2025 season. There are going to be larger lettering on the backs of jerseys. They will begin tailoring pants again. They will up the seam stitch count so that people are not having blowouts when they're sliding into bases and the seams of their pants are busting open. We saw that with the Tigers player. We saw it with Will Smith, I think last week or a week and a half ago. He slid in and he had like 2 holes in his knee. I think he was sliding into second. And they're also going to get a higher quality zipper. And then they had already addressed that the mismatching grays will be fixed at some point. And the biggest thing I think that I noticed this weekend, even though it's been an ongoing issue, was the sweat stains showing through. Before you actually sent me the tweet that we would potentially be talking about this, me and my friend were watching the Toronto game, and the closer on Sunday, he had sweated through like half of his jersey. Like you could just see the 2 tones. And I was like, is that sweat? And my best friend was like, oh my God, yeah, I think it is. And we started looking at some of the other players, and it is noticeable that their jerseys are drenched. And I guess one of the articles was saying that they have 28% faster drying factor, but with that 28% comes sweat showing through that you never saw in uniforms before. So I don't know if the trade-off was really worth that 28%. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
There was a picture earlier in the season, and I forget who the player was for the Yankees that was wearing the jersey, and it looked like someone had dumped a bucket of water on him. And I mean, I'm aging myself. This reference, if anybody knows what hypocolor is, those shirts. Do you remember hypocolor,
I
Amy?
wanted one so bad. I never got one though. Oh,
I got in trouble because all the girls in high school used to wear them, and I would always be like, "Hey, I want to touch to see if your shirt changes color. Touch the back, don't touch the front." So, anyways,
you were that creepy guy?
yeah,
Oh.
Creeper McCreeperton over here.
Oh man.
But the one and I forget, I think it was a Yankees pitcher, but that one really looked bad. Like I said, and so look, I've already taken the L on this one, Amy. I thought for sure they were going to fix this issue at the beginning of the season. I cannot believe that a month into the season, we are still having this conversation about these uniforms. Now, Jeff Passan wrote a story in ESPN. And to me, the most interesting aspects of that story, Amy, are these. The Major League Baseball Players Union is the one that put out this statement that gave us all this information that Nike is going to finally do something about this, and that they're saying at the latest, this is going to be fixed is at the beginning of the 2025 season.
Which is interesting because players still have pants and other items back ordered. But go on.
Right? And like the number of my Dodger friends who were texting me for Friday's game when Gavin Stone was pitching against the Azulejos, and they're like, they're different colors. His top is a different color than his pants. And it was just one of those things where it's like, I'm watching a baseball game. Is this really like that important? But you like, Amy, there was a point where I was like, what's the big deal? This has nothing to do with baseball. But it is noticeable, and you can't avoid it like when you're watching it.
Well, and there was a player, I think it was either in the ESPN or it was in the Athletic article, but like one of the players was like, this is our crown. Like, this is our jewel of the game. We put on these uniforms and they mean something. And it shouldn't be just like, it's this that I'm putting on. I should be putting it on and I should feel proud to put it on. And that's not the case right now because the quality is lacking. I mean, God, are they all having to wear 2 pairs of pants at this point just so that they don't split when they're running down the bases? Like, they have to put their stretchy pants on. Like, it just, the fact that it's the latest could be 2025 is astounding to me because that means they are going to play this way the whole year. And they're saying, like I said, the Vapor Premier fabric is here to stay. And that is nobody likes it though. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and so I had mentioned that Jeff Passan wrote this article in ESPN, and here were the surprises to me. One of the big surprises was that the Major League Baseball Players Union basically blamed Nike for this. If you read that article, they're saying this is entirely a Nike issue. And I found that very fascinating because since we've been covering this story, the company that has taken the most strays about this topic, the uniforms, has been Fanatics. And with the union, the statement by the Major League Baseball Union is basically absolving Fanatics and saying this wasn't Fanatics' fault. This is Nike. This is all on Nike. And that to me was very surprising.
Which was interesting because I don't know. I'm trying to check. So I think it was Evan Drellick from the Athletic. He also posted something that said, as the MLBPA hammers Nike and praises Fanatics, did you know that the MLBPA received $44 million in licensing revenue from Fanatics in 2023? I don't know if that plays into it. I don't know if it's because Fanatics takes the lead from Nike and Nike's the one who directs the product. It's their fabric and Fanatics is just, making the product according to the specs. Is that why it's being put on Nike? I don't know. It's just interesting that you're hearing all of these different sides of the story as ESPN, Athletic, everybody's breaking these different versions and different perspectives of the nightmare that are these uniforms. And something that I found kind of consistent across the articles was that people are saying that Nike is showcasing the brand, making sure that their Nike swoosh, that MLB has their patch, versus making sure that like parents or fans can see their players' names on the jersey on TV. Like we're putting the brand over the team, over the players. And why? Because we love the sport. We can see it's a Nike jersey. We know they're in the MLB. Like, why would we still not showcase the players and highlight that?
That's interesting. Are you trying to say that the Major League Baseball Players Union is on the take that Fanatics has paid them off to not talk shit on them?
I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that Evan Drellick had posted that.
I'm sorry,
It was an interesting.
What Evan is implying.
Just if we're putting all the information out there for people to make an informed decision on their own, that was something that came out. I don't know if that's actually the case. Like maybe that's licensing information or licensing revenue that's already in play. And again, does it go back to the specs that Nike is putting out there and Fanatics is just following it?
The other thing that I was surprised about, Amy, was Jeff Passan references that these same uniforms that we're all bitching and moaning about actually debuted at the 2023 All-Star game. Did you know that?
We talked about that. We talked about that in previous episodes.
That's my bad.
Yeah, because that's what. So my point in that was like, yeah, okay, use them for the home run derby, but like if you're nobody likes them for the All-Star game. They've been used the last 3 years. We've had the same colors for the team jersey, and people still want to go back to that. No, I want to see my players in their own team jersey. I want to be able to recognize them on the field, and I don't care about a unified team. Like I don't care if you guys are all blue and you guys are all green. So I mean, but they played in it for one day. Were they aware?
So those are the uniforms that were made of that material.
Yes. So like the green and the blue.
Hideous.
Yeah, and nobody likes those. So yeah, that was the preview.
By the way, for those of you listening or watching, I have officially become that character from that Saturday Night Live sketch, Short-Term Memory Man. Hey, you're Tony Randall. What are you doing here?
You're like a goldfish. Oh, cool. A castle. Oh,
well,
cool.
like
a castle.
So this is something. Look, I don't know Obviously, look, this story is never going away. We're going to continue to give you guys updates on this story because in 2019, Nike started this partnership with Major League Baseball in terms of making their uniforms. They signed a 10-year deal. It's worth $1 billion. So even though this has just been a horrible, uh, I don't even know what you would call this, a faux pas, or it's just been a very horrible episode. There's
Did
a
you see the
million.
quote?
Give me the quote.
Nike was innovating something that didn't need to be innovated. That was in the MLBPA memo.
Yeah, I guess overall what I was getting at is I was surprised at how hard Major League Baseball Players Union came at Nike. When we're talking about a 10-year partnership and we're talking about $1 billion here. It's I don't want to say it's don't bite the hand that feeds you, but I was just they clearly, but if what Evan is saying is true in terms of how much money Fanatics is getting from the players union, that might also give you some other cause there for that. But look, every time we do updates on this story, I always seem to think this is going to be the last update. The next time I give you guys an update, it's going to be like, we're back to the majestic uniforms. Everything is fixed. Everything is fine.
I wish.
But the updates just seem to be getting loonier and loonier. We have an update to another story that we covered just a few episodes actually, and that's it's not the electronic strike zone. What? That I know you got excited about that. I want to end the show with that one, Amy. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to mislead you.
Fine. All right.
That one, I feel like you can be more positive, and I want to end the show on a good note. But the electronic strike zone conversation that Amy and I had talked about with umpires and robot umpires, there was a recent. Did you see the clip with Max Scherzer talking about this, Amy?
I did. So he was basically saying in this video when he was being interviewed that he wants a human. He wants people behind the plate because there needs to be a human element of the game. And he said, instead, let's let the electronic strike zone rank the umpires. And that, that lower tier, that last 10%, move them down to the minors. That way, umpires are now going against themselves, and they're the bottom of that percentage of umpires that's not doing that great. They can police themselves, because at this point, if you're going to get, let's say there's 100 umpires, I know there's not nearly that many, but let's say I know this game I'm going to get the 10th best umpire, or I'm going to get the 99th. Like, that's going to determine some of the outcomes in the game. Like, I want somebody who's at the top of their game. So, I mean, I think he makes a valid point. I know I have my feelings on the electronic strike zone. What were your takeaways from basically his interview?
He brings up, I know this is a very controversial subject, and I know this is something that will never become a reality because there's unions involved. And I don't want anybody to lose their job. I really don't, because these people make a living doing this stuff. So before I go into that, I just want to say this in terms of the electronic strike zone. I know I believe in the minor leagues, we had talked about this before. I talked to somebody who covers the minor leagues and said, Juan, it's just a matter of seconds when people challenge, because I think the big concern is like, oh, are we going to be challenging balls and strikes? Like, it's going to disrupt the flow. And he told me, Juan, it's just a matter of seconds. They literally just like tap their head and the umpire turns around and it tells them ball or strike, and then we move on. So I don't think it's going to disrupt the flow as much as everyone thinks.
Or you also limit it, and you, just like mound visits, like we talked about a couple episodes ago, then you just give them a limit. You're only going to challenge the egregious ones, the ones where you're like, okay, no way was that a ball or a strike? And then you continue on with the game, but you still have that human element there, so it's not quite so robotic.
The one thing about what Max Scherzer said in there that I am fully on board on, that I think is controversial, is the idea of relegation. And not only is it just for umpires, but I know this wouldn't happen in Major League Baseball. This happens in football, and that is if you don't make the playoffs after a certain amount of years in a row, like you get relegated and you move to a lower level. And I know that that's never going to happen in Major League Baseball, but the idea of relegation to me is very interesting because it might motivate some of these owners who don't invest in their teams, that really have no intention of trying to put a competitive team out there and win, because all they care about is making money. If you had relegation where you had the threat of you're going to be sent to a lower level, and that's just like the vergüenza kicks in, right? Like, can you imagine if the Dodgers, if it ever got to a point where the Dodgers were going to get relegated to like a lower league? I think that would serve as great motivation. Like, I need to be better and I need to compete.
I
If
I
you do,
I don't think so though, because these guys are already like there's teams that lose every year and they're continuing to not put money in. I think you have to hit them in the wallet, and that's, hey, you don't get part of this part of the pool that we're putting together from the competitive balance tax. If you hit them in the money, that's, okay, then you're gonna try to uplift your team, but like they're already losing. You relegate them to another league, what are they? They're still continuing
well,
to
but
make money.
if you did that, then you could put in what you just said right now. If you get relegated, you don't get the money.
Okay, that's okay. All right, I'm in. I'm in.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's ways like you can incentivize this. So to tie it back to the umpires, if it's based on performance, if you're not doing what you should be doing, and we're going to send you down to the minors, it makes sense. I can't argue with him
Or
in the
require
logic,
more training. Require more training then, because we need to
because
get you need to pass like other fields have continuing education units or just CEs. Then you got to do something like that to buff it, to bolster it, because
and in
continuing
a
to just be
sense,
bad is not okay.
right, and in a sense, isn't that what you already the players go to? If you don't perform, in some, if you have options, you're going to get sent down to the minors or you're going to get released. You don't have that level of accountability. Well, at least not that I know of with umpires.
And
Uh,
I'm sure there are some minor league umpires that would love a chance at the show that are probably fresh out of training. Maybe they're a little bit more Johnny on the spot, who would love a chance to shine, but I don't know what the turnover rate or like how that works for you to be able to move up. Does somebody have to leave? Like, is it is it like the Supreme Court? Is it like, how does it work?
yeah, I like I said, I can't argue with his logic, but I don't think the unions involved, the umpires union, would ever allow that, because again, you're not only, I think it's embarrassing, but that you're talking about revenue being lost, and I don't want to do that. But there, I think what Scherzer is saying is there needs to be a way to find accountability for performance, because the players have it. And that's the sad thing, is, to me, I feel like it's only the players, and to a certain extent the managers, that have that level of accountability. The owners don't have that accountability, and it doesn't seem like the umpires have that accountability.
Well,
So,
and and part of his argument too isn't just like the bad ones need to go down. It's because he wants the human element still in the game. He doesn't want to just go to this robotic, we let's remove them completely from the game and just go to this. So, I mean, I think if you are trying to keep the human element, you are trying to keep people in their jobs, then that is part of it then. Like you do have to get better. You have to be better. If you're calling a strike 6 inches off the right side of the plate 3 times in a row, that's not okay. Like that affects outcomes of games. That affects the pitcher, that affects the batter, that affects you being confident even in the strike zone, either side. That's just not right. That's a negative impact to the game.
no, I think you're absolutely right. Okay, let's get to the topic that you're very excited about, Amy, and what seems to be coming back in August of this year.
Well, I was excited until I read the article. Um, We are in for a reimagined Players Weekend. So we'll have the first one since 2019. Um, from 2017 to 2019, when we had Players Weekend, that's when everybody who is familiar with baseball will remember the players would get to choose like their nicknames on the back. I think most famously we had Rich Hill, Dick Mountain. Everybody always points that out every time. But they could use, nicknames that they had, nicknames that friends had given them. It was just a fun weekend to be able to see like the players' personalities come out. So that will be happening for 3 days in August from the 16th to the 18th. Instead of names on the back of jerseys, it looks like day one will be focused on personalities, friendships, and off field interests. Day two will be focused on charitable causes. And day three will celebrate people who helped them on their path to the big leagues. So parents, coaches, mentors. And then the differentiation this year will be special new era caps with uniform numbers on the side panel and a youthful design, whatever that means. And they'll be able to customize their bats and cleats. And the goal is to reach younger audiences. I think some of us older audiences want the names on the back.
Yeah, I honestly, what I feel, what we're getting, Amy, is we're getting everything but the uniforms. So
that's what I loved. That was the reason I loved it.
Like, if we're doing this, why not throw in the uniforms? That was one of the things that completely, other than the fact that the following year when they did the teams, like, remember when the Dodgers and the Yankees played a Players Weekend and they had the Yankees in the all black uniform and the Dodgers in the all white uniform?
Oh, those were
And it was
horrible.
Exactly. I was
Horrible.
like, you guys finally had a good idea. And I don't know how many years. I never heard a negative thing about Players Weekend.
Until that one.
Everyone loved the nicknames. Everyone thought it was hilarious. You mentioned Dick Mountain. That was back when good old Pedro Baez was playing with the Dodgers, and he had La Mula on there. Chase Utley had the Silver Fox. The good old, you had Chicken Strip with Ross Stripling, and then Austin Barnes, wildly imaginative Sam on the back of
and you had what was Puig's Wild Horse?
Wild Horse. Corey
Yeah.
Seager's brother had Corey's brother on it.
It was just fun. Like, but you're right. Those black and white jerseys, the black on one side, white on the other, those were horrible. Like, they did like aqua one year, I think, for the Dodgers, and that was one of my favorite ones. I didn't get one of the jerseys that year, and I was really bummed out. But like, if you're gonna do it, have it be a fun color. Don't just make it the absence of color and then all color. Like,
that they made it like Little League uniforms is what they did, and I thought it was a really great idea, and I just did not. I don't understand why they went away from it, because I ended up buying one of those and personalizing it. I have Mexican Fletch on the back of mine, and it was with the aqua sleeves, and you had the Dodger and blue. And I thought it was so great. And I look forward to it because they started selling jerseys where you could get the Players Weekend. I thought this is smart.
They had a good thing, and everybody loved it. And then they first they stomped on it with the black and the white, and then they killed it. And now they're like, let's resurrect it because it was fun. And they're like, we're only gonna half resurrect it. Like,
yeah, and you know what's so crazy, Amy, is I think that this kind of stuff would play to a younger audience. And that's what Major League Baseball has been trying to get, is they're trying to get a younger audience. And guess what? They're actually starting to show signs that they're getting a younger audience. Like, the younger audience over the last couple of years has grown for Major League Baseball. That classic demographic that everybody is after, the 18 to 35 demographic, it's increased by 10%. So
I don't understand, though, why you can't have the uniforms in with that. Like, I understand why they're doing all the days, day 1, day 2, day 3. To me, I'm taking off all official hats. This is just me as a fan. I don't care. Throw that in a Dodgers Insider. Let me pick that up when I come in the gates. I want to see the jersey. If you want to do a playful design on your hat or a youthful design, fine. But like, I feel like you're going to get more of the younger audience is if you make it more playful versus like, this is what this day is focused on. Are they doing it before the game that they're announcing these things? Because half the people who come to the stadium don't even come on time. So who are you marketing this to when you could just bring the thing that people actually really liked about it back?
Yeah, I feel like this was such a simple, issue, and there's no need to complicate it. Just do it
Almost.
the way you did it. That's I mean,
Almost
the
like
little
the uniforms they're wearing right now. Oh, I
I
mean,
just it's what like the little leaguers identify. Oh, look, they're wearing a little league uniform like mine. When I played in little league, I was in a league that we couldn't get replicas. So there was a year that I was like on the Oakland A's, and our jerseys were like literally just green with white sleeves and yellow across saying athletics. It looked nothing like the Major League Baseball uniform. And then we would go ahead and play other leagues. And obviously, these leagues had more money than the league that I was in. And they were playing like in replica jerseys of the Major League team. So I think that was part of the reason why I liked it so much, because it brought me back to my little league days. And I think that's what they were going for. I think that's what they were capturing.
they
And
had a winner.
yeah. I don't understand why they tease the audience like this. You like this? Well, you can't have it. It's like, what? What? And what?
Now
I think
instead of getting Coke, we're getting Diet Coke. I don't want Diet Coke. I know there's a lot of people who love it out there.
The Diet Cokers are going to come after you now.
Well,
The Diet Coke.
my best friend loves Diet Coke. I'm just as the example of like if you could have the real thing or you could just have half power. I don't want half power. I want the real thing.
You want to know how you alienate your audience? Give them something and then take it away from them. That is the number one thing that you cannot do. And that's what Major League Baseball did. So yeah, like you, when the story broke, I got excited because I thought the jerseys were coming back. I was like, I can't wait to see what kind of nicknames are on the back of these jerseys. If there's inventive ones, I want to buy one, stuff like that. And
I
then
won't buy the All-Star game jerseys, especially because of how they've gone down in quality and the fact that they're just blue, green, whatever color they're picking for that year. I don't care about those. There were years I wanted to buy those the Players Weekend jerseys. I just couldn't afford it at the time. Like I would buy my favorite players, but no, I can just get a youthful design on a hat.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't buy an All-Star game one, but I would buy a Players Weekend one if it was like Dick Mountain. I regret not buying a jersey of Dick Mountain. And then when I wanted to finally buy one, I couldn't find one anywhere. And again, I just, for the life of me, whoever made that decision, hopefully no longer works for Major League Baseball, because like I said, I had never heard one complaint about Players Weekend. Everyone I
doesn't
talked to
cost
liked it.
anything extra. I mean, I'm sure it costs to make the uniforms, but they're continuing to make those uniforms regardless. If it's still a money generator because you're going to have fans buy these extra jerseys on top of whatever jersey I was already going to buy, like I just don't understand.
Just say it, Amy. This is why we can't have nice things. This is why we can't have nice things.
I just want a Players Weekend jersey with a fun name on the back.
That's right. So that's going to do it for this episode. As you guys are watching this, this will either be the second game of the Doyers and Serpientes series. We will recap those series the next time you see us. But for now, make sure you catch up with any of these past episodes. As you see, we're already up to 44. Isn't that crazy, Amy? 44 episodes.
I cannot, and we just started in February. Like how time flies.
So, any last words before we wrap things up, Amy?
Bring back the Players Weekend jerseys.
That's right. Bring them back. So for those of you listening on the audio portion, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Rate us, write us a review, help spread the word about the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, give us a thumbs up, leave us comments. We would love to engage with you. And make sure you're following us on social media, on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amy Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. Nos despedimos con un beso. Amy, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.